Hi everyone, my name is Vassal and I'm here with another gameplay video. My opponent this time is Voodoo, and I'm playing as the Americans. He starts with a normal 4 influence in Poland, 1 in East Germany, 1 in Austria. I start with 4 influence in West Germany, 3 in Italy, and we're playing with Americans plus 2 influence at the start, which I put in Iran. So in my opening hand I have some pretty good cards. Because of the plus 2 influence in Middle East, I'll probably just go with Middle East scoring because it's 4 points. I doubt he'll play Nasser as his headliner because I don't see socialist governments in my hand. I don't see Suez Canal crisis in my hand. I don't see Vietnam revolts, so these are all good headliners for the Soviet player. So I'm going to go ahead and probably play Middle East scoring. He headlines Suez Crisis, taking 2 out of UK and 1 out of Israel, and I get 4 points for Middle East scoring. First play is NATO for 4 ops, and he drops Iran down by 2 and DEFCON by 1 with a coup. I play US-Japan Mutual Defense Pact for 4 ops, spreading 1 into Iraq, 3 into Pakistan. So at this point he could use the China card to coup Pakistan, and he would require 4 to control Pakistan. He instead plays a war, and on a 4 to 6 he'll get 3 into Pakistan, but he fails. I play containment for 3 ops, strengthening Iran by 2 and Pakistan by 1. So further securing the stronghold here in Asia and Iran. Independent Reds for 2. I don't get any ops out of it, and he secures Afghanistan. I take India with 3 ops from duck and cover. Right now in Asia, South Korea and Thailand are still up for grabs. I am not comfortable moving towards Thailand yet because the DEFCON is not yet at 3. So if I try and place in Malaysia, it can be cooed. So that's a plan to work towards in the future. And South Korea has the Korean War, so I don't really want to put any influence into there yet until I've seen that card. I'm holding Destalinization, by the way. I'll probably hold this till turn 3 and then space it. If I space it before then, it might be shuffled in and redrawn on turn 3 or past turn 3. He drops 3 into South Korea with Warsaw Pact. I attempt a coup for 1 ops, just to drop DEFCON down to 3. Special relationship doesn't get me any ops because I don't control UK. He takes control of South Korea and protects North Korea a bit. I start moving towards Thailand with 2 ops. Also placing into Burma so I can start taking some of these Southeast Asia countries. Overprotect South Korea right now. This is usually just a good play to make at some point in the game because late war control of South Korea for the Americans is important because of Soviets shoot down Cal 7. I overprotect Thailand by 1 so that if he plays Vietnam revolts and gets next to Thailand, he can't flip control of Thailand with the China card, which if Thailand is at 2 ops, if someone has the China card, they can use the 5 ops from it to immediately flip control. So in my second hand, I drew Asia scoring, Probably looks like the best play. Captured Nazi scientist is also good. And so I'll probably play Asia scoring. I get 5 VPs and I'm Red Scare purged. He coups Thailand very successfully because we never did the last coup on the previous turn to drop DEFCON to 2. Comic Con for 3 ops. He places into some pretty standard countries. And I just take these Southeast Asia countries. It's good to take these countries because if in the future I want to play Brush War on Thailand, if he only has Vietnam, which I expect he will, then I can still flip Thailand on a 4-6 roll. And also it's just good to have control of these countries for Southeast Asia scoring. Right now we're at 2 to 3 battleground countries in Asia. I'll probably have Japan at some point, so we'll be 3 to 3. So flipping control of Thailand in the future would give me domination. He plays Decall, which is pretty scary. Goes real heavy into Southeast Asia. I feel like it would have been beneficial for him to go into Algeria and South Africa as well. I don't really know why he went so hard into Southeast Asia. He probably could have achieved the same ends with just 2 influence out of the decolonization instead of all 4. Also, I played the Asia scoring card, so it's not like he's preventing my domination before that Asia scoring card has been played. Although Asia scoring was played on turn 2, so it may be reshuffled next turn. So between turns 3 and 6, Asia scoring will come back out, but this is sort of jumping the gun on his part. I take control of Cambodia with Truman Doctrine. And this is also nice because this is going to be reshuffled into the deck now. And late game, sometimes this card just works wonders. Like especially in the late war when there's some crazy battles happening over Europe because of the really powerful events that affect influence in Europe in the late war. Nuclear test ban for 4 ops. He flips Laos, Cambodia with 3 of it and drops 1 into Burma. I play this to start getting ahead on the space race and 2 points. I've got a nice points lead right now, and early war is quite honestly supposed to be where the Soviets gain a nice stronghold and nice stash of points. Arab-Israeli war takes control of Burma and overprotects Laos, Cambodia, so I can't flip it with 3 ops. Again, jumping the gun here. That's sort of a low priority right now. I don't know why he's not trying to, for example, pressure France by moving into Italy. And then, because once you start pressuring France, then also it opens your pathway to Algeria. I'm talking as the Soviets. And Europe scoring hasn't been played yet, so this is a priority for him. These ops would also probably be better spent taking Greece, Turkey, and moving towards Spain, Portugal. Just basically, you should be focusing on Europe, in my opinion. And also, neither of us have couped yet. I don't really have any good coup targets, but he's got Panama. Yeah, really just Panama, which he should be couping at some point. So I end up couping, and it's actually successful in Iraq, even though I needed a 6 to do anything at all. But that's cool. He starts making moves in Europe with Fidel, and it will be reshuffled. So he might still possibly get those 3 ops in Cuba in the future. I throw socialist governments to space. He plays CIA created, and I use it to increase my influence in Panama, and he uses the influence to increase in Lebanon. I play Vietnam revolts, and we're on to turn 3. So in my hand, okay, I have Marshall Plan, and we are still fighting for Europe, so that'll probably be my play. I also got blockade, and I wanted to discard destalinization anyways this turn, so I'll probably just do it with blockade. I got UN intervention again, which is just a good card to draw. So with Marshall Plan, I just drop into a bunch of countries, protect Italy and West Germany. He plays Nasser to sort of get into that western part of Middle East. He flips Iran, so he gets a real nice roll there. 1, 2, 3, 4. He gets a 5. I take Iraq and Turkey. I do want to have something in Middle East because it's Middle East doesn't really scale that well. I mean, having a presence there controlling one battleground country is 4 points, which is just really good. Like really good points to investment ratio. He scores a domination in the Middle East for 3 points. I play blockade, discard destall, take Spain, Portugal. So just again making moves on Europe. So even if at this point he's able to take France, which I don't know if he will be, I'll be able to prevent his domination, so he's only getting 1 point with Europe scoring, which he has in his hand right now. Korean War to start moving towards France. Never mind, he undid that and plays it in West Germany instead. I just take France, so at this point de Gaulle will drop me to 3 and put him to 1. So I mean, yeah, I don't have control of France at that point, but like I have such a lead that it'd really be expensive for him to take control for me. He does play de Gaulle for 3 ops. Puts 1 in France for future plans. Syria. I start moving into Africa by taking Algeria. Ideally, I'd be able to overprotect that at some point this turn by putting 1 more op there. He sends defectors to space. Boy, they defected pretty far. Cambridge 5 for 2 ops. Taking UK and Canada for future NORAD. Oh, he's discarding Europe scoring with 5-year plan. This is a nice little trick that USSR players can pull off. If the last card in their hand is a unbeneficial scoring card for themselves, 5-year plan actually becomes sort of a good card for them, because they get to discard that scoring card, which they don't want to play anyways. South Korea even more overprotected and takes control of Philippines, so he's got a nice stronghold there in Asia. And you know what? I mean, he took all those Southeast Asia countries to protect Thailand from brush war, which is fair enough. I just feel like he should have done it later. Europe scoring is discarded. Okay. I overprotect Algeria. Alright, turn 4. I was lucky to draw puppet governments. This is going to be really good. Basically means that unless something crazy happens, actually I have brush war too, so that's the craziest thing that could happen. What I was going to say is that since I have puppet government, I'm pretty much going to control South America. The only thing that could really stop me is if I was working towards control of South America. he played a brush war, or played a 4-ops card and got some really nice realignment rolls, then those would be the only things that could stop me. But basically, his only opening at this point is once I play puppet governments, placing influence into South America, he's going to have to go for -1 realignment rolls, -1 for him. But it's still worth it, just because I can only place 3 influence with puppet government, so I'll probably go like 1 in Argentina, 1 in Venezuela, 1 Brazil. So if he spends a 4-ops card to take my influence out of Argentina by attempting -1 realignment rolls, it's still worth it, because that 1 op in Argentina will let me take Chile and Argentina. I headline Nixon, taking the Asia card, or China card. He scores Asia for 5 points. So I finally get control of Japan. So he times out that Asia scoring nicely. Well, I guess he got lucky by drawing it. But I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, there's a lot of chance in this game, which just sort of dictates the story of the game. But you still have to, the skill is maneuvering through that chance. He flips Algeria big time with a 6, I believe. Yeah, rolls a 6. That's nice. Puppet governments, 1 in Venezuela, 1 in Argentina, 1 in Nigeria. Yeah. So at this point, using a 4-ops card to take me out of Venezuela or Argentina would both be pretty good for the USSR player. Let's see what he does. He just throws away the South America scoring card, so that's real nice that he had that. I use UN intervention for we will bury you, 4-ops. Take control of these 3 South American countries. Plays South African unrest, takes control of Angola, and places 1 to South Africa. I try to flip Algeria, but I would have won on a 3 to 6, but I roll a 2. His OPEC isn't very good for him right now, only 2 points, so he uses it for 3-ops. Takes control of South Africa. He's doing well in Africa right now, but Africa is a very unstable region. So what these 2 ops did for me is that it put realignment rolls on Algeria for me at +1, because I'm surrounding it with France and Saharan states, and it also gives me access to Zaire. So if he coups either of these countries, I still have an opportunity sort of on the other side of Nigeria. Salt negotiations for 3-ops. He takes Zaire, so I can try some realignments on Algeria at this point. And it totally works. So he's in France. He can still go into Algeria, but we can keep playing this game. I sort of have an advantage here, though. He plays Fidel for 2-ops again, so he's really sacrificing his position in Central America. So he takes Algeria again. I remove the influence from Algeria again. He puts in Algeria again. I remove the influence again. So we end the turn in a position where he doesn't have Algeria, and on the first action round for the USSR player on the next turn, he has to decide whether he wants to take Algeria or coup a country. He doesn't really have, I guess, Panama. Argentina is probably his best coup target, because Nigeria can easily be realigned because I have Saharan states and Cameroon. Brazil and Venezuela can also be realigned at 0 if he coups either of them. So Argentina is probably his best bet for a coup, if that's what he decides to do. So this is my hand. Holy cow, I get a bunch of good cards. Bunch of good US events. I'll probably go with Bear Trap. I have Africa scoring, Voice of America. I mean, I should be able to wrangle myself a domination in Africa with a combination of Bear Trap, Voice of America. He coups Saharan states and Cameroon, so this is really annoying. There's some huge coups as well. So even if I take control of a lot of the battlegrounds in Africa, now I probably can't get a domination, just by virtue of him having so many countries. And like, I'm never gonna try a coup on either of those countries now, probably Saharan states or Cameroon. He discards Indo-Pakistani war to Bear Trap. Or, sorry, that's me. That's me cooing Angola with that card. What card did he discard to Bear Trap? Let me just check that. Colonial Rearguards. So Muslim Revolution for 4 ops. He realigns Angola. I don't know if that was a great take on my part, to be honest. But I was in a similar situation, even if I could Zaire. So maybe I should have just taken Algeria for with the 3 ops card, the China card. Portuguese Empire crumbles, retakes control of Angola. At this point, I just take my loss and give 5 VP for Africa to the USSR player. Liberation Theology, that's the name of the card. And this is sort of the reason I placed 1 influence into Costa Rica. This is usually a good target for them to start setting up a nice little stronghold from which they can move towards Cuba, and also attempt to realign on Panama. But I wanted to place 1 influence in Costa Rica, so that if he did invest a lot into taking control of Costa Rica and he realigned me out of Panama, I'd still be able to access Panama from Costa Rica. So he goes straight into Panama and Mexico. Alright, so I was trying to realign on Mexico at 0, plus 0 modifier, but I'm unsuccessful. He secures his position in Mexico, but I mean, I can just coup Guatemala now and realign Mexico at plus 1. And, you know, when you're the player that places influence in a non-battleground in this way to protect a battleground, since this is an unstable country, Guatemala I'm talking about, when I coup it, I'm likely to get more than 1 influence into it, which makes his counter coup more difficult, which disincentivizes him to do it, and then I do get those realignment rolls at plus 1, if that makes sense. He placed in Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Libya. I play Voice of America and really just take him out of Central America. Lone Gunman for 1 op. Goes into Nicaragua. I coup it. Nice roll. That's not what your country can do. I'm always happy to see this card as the US played, even if it's late. He coups Nicaragua. See, at this point, I'm not even really that scared to place influence directly into Cuba because I know Fidel was used earlier. So, unless Central America is drawn on the last turn of mid-war, and Fidel is also reshuffled and drawn, which is not necessarily going to happen on turn 7. It really doesn't matter if I directly place influence into Cuba. It's not that much of a risk. So I take Cuba. Man, I'm drawing a bunch of really good cards actually. I drew Brush War and Junta and ABM Treaty. And Red Scare Purge. I mean, that's probably what I'll headline. So he didn't get any of those 3 power cards. And you can sort of see it too. Like, I have South America. This is, a cash cow for me. I'll have Central America. Africa is unstable. He has it right now, but it can change, in a heartbeat. We're tied in Asia. Southeast Asia scoring will be a nice little bit for him. I'm pretty securely in the lead in Europe, so getting those power cards is always really good. Okay, so we cancel each other's headline out because he plays Brezhnev Doctrine. Who's Panama? And I get a nice 4 VPs. I take back Panama. He tries rolls on Panama and they don't work because they're at -1. I don't really know why that's how he tried to do it. I mean, taking Costa Rica first and then using a 4-ops card to attempt to get me out of Panama and out of Costa Rica in one shot, like in one action round, that would have been a better way to do it. Junta event gets me 2 in Mexico and does not remove him from Nicaragua. He gets his points from Southeast Asia. I get my points from Central America. Did we get exactly the same points there? No. He got 6 and I got 7, so cool. But he's got a nice little lead. And of course, you can always see the VP creep from the military ops for the USSR player. One of the things I could improve on is paying attention to that during games, which I don't always do. And sometimes it's worth it to just initiate a subpar coup in a non-battleground country just for 2 VP. He tries to send grain sales to space on turn 6. I mean, maybe his hand is filled with really bad cards for him, meaning good cards for me, so he's forced to do it. But I would have waited as the USSR player and done this on turn 7, just so it's not reshuffled. I coup Libya, taking his influence out of it, but he's still got access to Egypt. Ideally, I would have gotten 1 influence in there so that I could work on either Egypt, Libya, or Israel. He plays our man in Tehran, taking Libya and Jordan. I discard a bunch of cards from the top of the deck. Whenever I play our man in Tehran or am able to use it, I discard even neutral events like One Small Step, and Missile Envy, just so that there's a higher concentration of U.S. events in the deck, because the mid-war U.S. events tend to be more powerful than the USSR mid-war events. And I see Elend. I sent Elend to the discard. So even though it will be reshuffled, it's not for sure going to be drawn on turn 7, which further secures my control of South America. I start working on Middle East a bit. At this point, he's got 2 battlegrounds, probably going to take Egypt as well. Israel is an expensive one, so you never know. If I mean, this 2 ops in Saudi Arabia means I'll probably get Saudi Arabia. And if I can get another battleground in the Middle East, will be 3-3 on battlegrounds, and that'll be a tie. He plays decall, further securing his domination and possibly control of Africa. At this point, OAS found it is better as 1 op, so I take Saudi Arabia with it. Sadat expels the Soviets for 1 influence from myself and him in Egypt. It's nice because he was already not there, and actually I couped Egypt, so that was a mistake on my part, removing any of his influence from Egypt. I probably should have couped something else. I take control of Egypt and Algeria. I once again draw brush war. Arms race as potential points. It's a pretty good hand. I headline Camp David Accords, gain 1 VP and some influence. Latin American Death Squad, so he's going to try and put up a fight in the Americas. UN interventions NATO, which is pretty interesting. Usually you see this event played. So I don't even talk about the fact that he couped Venezuela there, took control of it, then I brush warred it, and I would have won on a 3-6, and I did. He drops Middle East scoring. I don't know why he didn't just drop a bunch into Israel and try and, I mean, if he played 3 ops into Israel, I probably wouldn't have put up a fight for it, and he would have taken control of it, and then I wouldn't have gained any points. I take Chile. He interrupts control of UK. I mean, I don't really know why he placed influence into UK at that point, because he didn't allow NATO to enter play, so I wouldn't have gotten the really nice bonus off of special relationship, which is if NATO is in effect and the UK is controlled, I get 2 VPs and 2 influence anywhere in Western Europe. But NATO was not in effect because he UN interventioned it, so he could have just used those 2 ops elsewhere. I take Israel. Just securing some countries even further. I send Liberation Theology to space. At this point, I don't want to give him any influence in Central America because I've got a nice stronghold here. He sends Voice of America to space. Flower Power, a card I always forget about as the Americans. And you know, I see these points just bleed away, and I'm like, why is that happening? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Flower Power. I start protecting a bunch of countries, overprotecting them, because at this point I'm stable in South America, Central America, Europe, and we're tied in Middle East and Asia. Formosian Resolution. So wisely he places the influence in Taiwan, because at this point, if I was able to take control of Taiwan, it would break the tie the battleground control tie that's currently in Asia. I have Pakistan, India, and Japan. He has South Korea, North Korea, and Thailand. But if I was able to control Taiwan, we would be at 4-3 in battlegrounds, which isn't really that big a deal because he controls so many countries in Asia that he would be preventing any potential domination on my part. So I would only really be getting 1 VP if I placed 3 ops in Taiwan, which maybe I wouldn't even really, well, I probably would do it, to be honest. I kick him out of Nicaragua with a coup. Again, playing Panama Canal return for ops because I don't really need it. I don't need the event. Last turn for the Soviet player, nuclear subs. Takes Taiwan and overprotects Nigeria. Not that I mean, if I ever have a chance to coup Nigeria, like 1 extra op in it isn't gonna do anything. So flower power here gets him some VPs, and I coup Nigeria. I draw Africa scoring. Right now it's 4 points for the USSR player. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 points. But I have grain sales, so I'm just gonna headline that. He headlines the Reformer. He is ahead of me on VP. This card is just so beastly. 2 in Italy, 2 in France, 2 in West Germany. Just really messes my stuff up in Europe. But with his first action round, if he decides to further cement this position he's created for himself in Europe, then he leaves a coup to me. And I mean, I don't really have great targets. Iran would probably be my best target here, because again, if I targeted Syria or Angola, he has good realignment opportunities on those countries. So probably Iran would be my target. Iran or Libya. With grain sales, I think I returned a card, and I just used it to coup Zaire. If I was able to pick a card from his hand, that was 3 ops, and so initiate a coup for 3 ops at this point in the headline phase. I probably would have targeted Iran or Libya, but with a 2 ops grain sales, I just targeted Zaire. Probably isn't the greatest play, but is also kind of good right now, because if with his first action he decides, as I said before, to cement his position that he's created in Europe, then I can dump Africa scoring for actually +1 for me, which is just a wild swing from what it could have been for him. But he wisely realigns me out of both those countries. So looking back, maybe I should have just played Africa scoring so he doesn't get those 2 extra points once he does eventually take back Nigeria and Zaire. But I didn't want to give him the opportunity to mess with me in Europe either. So he only takes 1 of them back, so I'll dump Africa scoring at this point. 5 points for him. He tries to flip Iraq on a 5 or a 6 because I have Saudi Arabia. I don't know. It's not really that great. A great play by him, I don't think. Terrorism. I like playing this card for the event, just because at this point, I do have a nice little lead in a bunch of the regions in the world. So further hurting is his ability to make good plays, possibly discarding good cards for him rather than playing 2 ops, which are probably going to be used just to cement my position in different areas on the board. I feel like it's more effective, but I do need to take back these countries in Europe, so that's sort of a priority for me. Korean War, still kicking around, still being used for ops, cementing his position, taking back Nigeria. So he removes 1 from Iraq, 1 from Israel, probably just replace those. Oh yes, Founded isn't doing too much for me because I already own the Americas. He coups Nigeria. I send Muslim Revolution to space. He sends Iron Lady to space. That card is a funny card. It's actually kind of good for the USSR player, because when they play it, they place an influence into Argentina, and then say the US player had 2 influence in Argentina, and the USSR player played Iron Lady. The text reads, add 1 USSR influence to Argentina, remove all USSR influence from UK. USSR never has influence in UK, so all they get is access to Argentina, and then if the US player has 2 in Argentina, then they just broke control and they can use the 3 ops from Iron Lady to flip Argentina. So, but I mean, I over control Argentina like crazy right now, so it doesn't really do anything for him. So socialist governments, just he removes some influence and I replace it. He breaks my control of India. I take India, giving him Romania. Not too worried about him contesting my domination in Europe because it's a huge ops investment for him right now. He can spend 2 to take Bulgaria, but that puts him at 6 to my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And then he would need a further 3 ops to take another country, and it's just not really, I don't know if it's worth it. That takes away his coup opportunity, which is more important. I just want to keep my regions, or the region, stable at this point. Chernobyl, South America scoring for 10 points. Willy Brandt to break control and 1 point. I retake it. I place into Gulf states. He plays around Contra Scandal, like one of my favorite events in the game. I just like realignment rules, and that card makes them good when you're the USSR player. I flip Sudan. So right now what I'm trying to do is basically go after these low stability African countries in an attempt to prevent a domination from him, but it's kind of a difficult task because he has 6 in Saharan states and Cameroon. He tries a single realignment roll on Panama at -1. Doesn't do anything. I mean, I think he's just kind of playing it out at this point because I'm going to win the game. I just further cement my position in Middle East. De Gaulle, he tries to contest Middle East. It's not going to be very difficult for me to... I get the last play of the game, and the game will go the full 10 turns. So if I want, I can flip control of this Lebanon or something else to take back domination in Middle East. I coup Saharan states. I think I roll a 2. Yeah. So just working on it. Now I've got Saharan states and Southeast African states, which if I can flip them, puts me to 4 and him to 5. So if I was able to flip Cameroon, then I'd be preventing his domination, but that's a lot of work to do. defectors to protect Libya and Lebanon. Send Aldrich Ames to space. OPEC to attempt to flip Sudan. It doesn't work. I flip Iran, so now I have a nice firm domination of Middle East. But he can flip it next turn potentially. Europe scoring, I'll probably just play that. I do have the China card, so Suri River Skirmish. Is also a good play. I decided to break his control of Afghanistan and North Korea, putting some pressure on him to respond. He plays Missile Envy. He grabs Iranian hostage crisis from my hand and flips Iran with it. So that's pretty nice. And now he plays North Sea Oil. So I basically get 2 plays now that he can't respond to at the end of this game. He attempts a coup in Argentina and actually rolls a 1-5. Not enough though to do anything. I'll take back Argentina with that Missile Envy. Evil Empire, taking back Afghanistan and North Korea. I probably should have played Missile Envy to take Afghanistan, but if I didn't take back Argentina, he could use a 4 ops card or a high ops card to try and realign me out of Chile at -1, and then it would have been a pain to sort of get back into that Chile-Argentina strip, because I'd have to go back through Uruguay, and he can coup that because it's a non-battleground. So Argentina was just a really safe play there. Afghanistan doesn't do a whole lot for me. It gets me 1 extra VP if I control it, so I think Argentina was the safe play. Yeah, Flower Power is cancelled. Awesome. Europe scoring for 5 VP. He sends Tear Down This Wall to space. I attack his position in Europe. Dumps 1 into Iraq. I take back Iraq and protect Chile even more because I have a lend. He's trying to roll me out of Argentina. Doesn't work. I take it back. Still trying on Argentina, doesn't work. I send Cultural Revolution to space. At this point, whoever controls the China card gets sort of, in effect, 2 VP because they prevent their opponent from controlling it. So it's like a 2 VP swing. Finally, Fidel comes in and takes Cuba. So late in the game. That was the last turn. Okay. I gained 15 VP and I won. So there you have it. That was my game versus Voodoo. I think I had, in the early game, I was getting the region scoring cards at good times. I was getting 1 at a time on my turns. Like I got the Middle East scoring card on my first turn. I was automatically able to play that for unpreventable 4 points for me, basically. Middle East is supposed to be a source of points for the USSR, so that was lucky. But that's sort of more due to the US +2 rule that we were playing with. On the second turn, I had the Asia scoring card at a good time, right before he started really attacking my position in Asia, and before that big coup in Thailand, which sort of changed everything. Because, after that, he sort of spread out to the rest of these Southeast Asia countries. So the timing of those two cards worked out really, really nicely for me. The Marshall Plan gave me a really strong foothold in Europe, which allowed that Europe scoring to score for me all game long. During the mid-war, puppet governments gave me a really strong position in South America. Him not playing Fidel for a long time, and at some point, as a USSR, you just need to play Fidel. Ideally, the US player uses the Fidel card and just gives up Cuba, and then tries to like realign them out or something. But he didn't play it. I think that was a mistake on his part, and he felt it. I mean, he eventually played it, but he felt it when I got those 7 points from control of Central America. Puppet governments, gave me control of South America. The big plays in Africa were his Che that took Saharan states and Cameroon in a big, big way, giving him a nice surround of Nigeria, meaning essentially I can never really control that country, because if I coup it, he's going to realign me out of it, and I won't have any access to it. So he basically established a permanent control of Nigeria that way, and he played decolonization to further cement his position in Africa. Asia pretty much reached a certain point early in the mid-war and stayed that way for the rest of the game. And Middle East, I guess that was sort of more of a creep. I just sort of, took countries here and there from him, and he didn't really put up a fight. When I put those two influences in Saudi Arabia, for example, he didn't really put up a fight. He played the Iran-Iraq war at not an opportune time. If he had put up a fight in Saudi Arabia, a 4-6 roll when using Iran-Iraq war would have won him the war, giving him Iraq. Israel was empty for a very long time. He should have prioritized it probably. And those are all the regions. So I did get all the big three cards in the mid-war. I got Junta, ABM Treaty, and Brush War, and then I actually drew Brush War once more. Those are really powerful cards. I think I even drew Salt Negotiations, which is a very powerful card. I got to use Grain Sales and Voice of America. So it's always hard to say in a game of Twilight Struggle who got the better luck, but it really seemed like I was getting some good draws there. So yeah, there you have it. That's my game versus Voodoo. We'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you very much.